Welcome back to my garage. I want to share with you today some interesting things I've learned about BMW E30 differentials. My differential, this one that you're looking at sitting on my workbench, was having some problems not providing proper lockup. So I would get some spinning of one wheel, which would cause a loss of power transfer and ultimately unpredictable behavior. Also, not good for donuts. So to replace the clutches, I had to learn a few things, and I'm going to share those with you today. First thing to do, take the cover off, drain it. Next thing is get these output shafts out. They just pop right out like so. Out they come. Something to note, always keep track of what side everything comes from and goes to. There are certain pieces that are really critical to making sure that this thing works. So let's take this thing apart. I'm gonna just fast forward you through it because the air compressor is gonna make a lot of noise as I do this. But once I get the plates off, we'll talk about how it comes apart in the process. Okay, so there's your differential. Now it can just come right out of the housing. I actually have already changed the clutches in this guy. These are my old ones with the old dog ear plates. I don't know if it'll show on the video, but there's, you can see the wear on the plates. Now you can replace these, so you can replace these or you can just flip them. Some people like to flip them. I just opted to replace them because I really don't want to do this job again. I'm just going to do it the once and be done with it. In order to get to those, they're inside. They're under this plate here, and we have to take these bolts off. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So the thing about these bolts is that they are a known failure item, and they should be replaced. So I have some replacements down here. I need to take these off because I was just going to reuse them. And rather than have this thing spin around on me, I'm going to do it upright like so. But I want to take this opportunity to show you what's inside, what order, and give you some information about ordering the right parts. Because there's a lot of information on the web about it if you go forum trolling or ask around on Facebook groups. But I found it hard to get complete information, and so I wanted to take this opportunity to share. Why is this one tight? I want to take this opportunity to share what I learned so that y'all don't have to go digging like I did. Okay, so let's keep everything in order, shall we? So that's going to come off, and here you can see that there are some washers inside of here. And if I use a little pick here, so there's, you can see this washer here, and then you have underneath here they came out, but you have another washer that I'm not sure if you can see, but it has a slight bevel to it. It's concave on the inside. So that concavity sits in here like so. And then you have this guy with the tab, and that has a perforated edge that sits on the inside. I should also add that in a stock LSD, on the bottom, you have this guy. This is a 4mm spacer that sits all the way at the bottom of the stack. So if you're doing this work and you want to improve the lockup of your LSD, you can replace this spacer with another set of clutch and plate. So that will take you from 25% lockup to approximately 40% lockup, which is great for the old slidey business, but also for control on track. Now, this gets us to the things that I've learned. So the things that I ordered, in case you're curious, the clutch plates themselves are OEM BMW clutch plates. These I bought from Beamer World. And then the dog-eared plates are actually Porsche parts. So here is the part number. That's 917-332-552-12. These, and I should say it's a Porsche part in a bag, but it's the same ZF part. ZF makes them, and they're exactly the same as the ones in here. It's some kind of a hardened steel. You don't want to use cheap steel that's die cut or water jet cut. It doesn't hold up to the temperatures. You need the good stuff. Now, these come in 3 different widths. This guy here is 2mm thick, and stacked up with this clutch, it ends up being approximately 4mm, which is also the width of that spacer that I took out of there. So you can get these in 1.9 and also 2.1 millimeters. So some of these LSDs come with 1.9s. Some of them, I guess, come with 2.0s. When you buy these new dog ears, get them in the 2.1 because it'll increase the speed with which everything locks up, because there's already some additional tension built up in the LSD based on the stack, it's slightly increasing the stack height. So I wanted to go over the whole stack from bottom to top. And so this is how it goes. You've got this little guy, flat spacer. That's the very bottom, right? So we get that, throw that guy in there. The next is one of these concave spacers. Remember, the concavity goes to the inside. So we get that guy down in there. And then the next one is this tabbed washer. That's going to go with the that sort of knurled, not knurled, the piece with the dots in it. That's going to face to the inside as well. So that goes in here, and you want to make sure that that sits down inside with that tab facing into one of the slots in the housing down there. I think you can see that. All right, so then big concave washer. Again, the concavity goes to the inside of the differential. Next up is a dog-eared plate. So this again is in placement of that spacer. So we're just gonna let that guy slide down there. Next up, clutch, and followed by another dog-eared plate and another clutch. So the thing about doing these is you don't want to just drop them in, because we have because the next up is this guy, which houses this gear with its spline sides. So we just need to make sure that we get these clutches and their splined inner diameter lined up with the splines on this gear. And that's really hard to do if you if you drop them into the this diff housing and then they're not lined up, and it can be a pain in the butt. So once you've got that all sorted, it's easy enough to then line everything up and just drop it right in there. Okay, now once that's all slid in there proper, it's time for the spider gears. You can see how they work. It's really quite clever. And so you can pick these guys up all together and oops, just drop them in there. They just sit in there like a T. They've got, excuse me, they have little recesses for them to sit in, and it's pretty straightforward. They're kind of tough to mess up. Just make sure everything is seated properly. All right, and then the next bit is the other gear with the splined bit that comes through this housing on top with your final set of clutches, or clutch and dog ear plate. So we'll just drop those in. And I've screwed it up by letting things slip. Here we go. Let's get that clutch on there, and we'll get that dog-eared plate back in there. Next up is your concave washer. Again, the concavity goes to the inside. So in that goes. And then you have the same stack of washers, which is flat washer, concave washer with the concavity toward the inside of the diff, and then that tabbed washer with that imprinted area, again, facing the inside. And so there we go. Make sure you have everything lined up properly. I should add, it helps to get a finger in there and hold the stacked washers as you slide everything down. These are your bolts. These are 8x1x16 grade 8 bolts. So we want to replace those so that we don't end up with breakage. I need 8 of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's plenty. Everything back together. Old stuff ready for the trash bin, and we are now ready for the case. Okay, now remember this, I've got this upside down on the bench, but that's the way I took it apart. So we're gonna get this thing put back in, and it should be self-evident, but you can see in here that the gear is offset to the one side, so your ring gear is going to be on the opposite side. It kind of only fits that one way. And then again, these side covers need to go on the same side they came off of. everything is back together, this input shaft should spin smooth. Oh, let me get output shafts back in here. Okay, so that should all spin smooth. This spins one way, these spin the same way. Everything should be smooth. If you flip these things, there's a chance that you'll get some binding and everything won't be smooth as you hope. So, just to recap, those cover bolts, replace them brand new with these guys. And then get yourself some 2.1 millimeter Porsche dog ear plates, OEM clutches, get a set of 3. It's not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than a fully rebuilt diff. Again, if you don't have a lot of play in your diff, if it's not making noise, and it's not leaking, you don't have to do too much else. That's it. I'm gonna fill it up, put the cover back on, and get it back in the car, and I hope this was helpful.